we have a long time without rains, the subsoil keeps the humidity and dosify the water to the plant during the year, right? Mm-hmm. That grape, Palomino grape, which we use for dry styles, so it's a huge variety of different cherries. We'll focus first in the dry styles, right, with Palomino. That variety is 97% of the variety we use, okay? So we mostly work with Palomino. And that variety is very neutral. It's not really aromatic. The aromas from the wines are reached during the time in the bodega, are not from the grape or the fermentation, are the third aromas, okay, from the bouquet, the time in the bodega. But the neutrality of the grape, long time maturation, all right? We need minimum 3 years to create a young cherry, and that is a Grand Reserva in other region. And additionally, the Solera system, you heard about the Solera system? You know it?
Yes, of course.
Okay,
but please.
I'll explain, okay? But basically, I'll explain it, but basically it's like in every single barrel, you don't have one harvest, but you have many different harvests inside. I'll explain why and how we do it, all right? But the neutrality of the grape, the long-term maturation, I said minimum 3 years. We can have 100 years old or 10, 20, or 15 years. And the Solera system makes that the most important thing in the creation of the sherry is the slow process here in the bodega. Is that selection. Wherever you go, Burdeos, Rioja, Penedès, or other countries in Italy, so the terroir and the climatology one particular year will determine in a big percentage the quality of the wine. Here is that very slow process. So here in Jerez, one of the biggest differences, the importance of the selection of the work, that slow process. That's why to be a family-owned business for generation and being the family itself directly involved in the selection of the wines is really, really important in the creation of the wines. Other difference is the barrels. We use old barrels, and not only old barrels, but a lot of barrels, right? So in other regions, sometimes the wines have never been inside the barrels, but here in Jerez, all the wine we have is always inside the barrels. So that's why we need so many different barrels, more than thousands of barrels, right? And we don't look at an apport from the wood into the wine. We don't look for the toasty flavors. We don't look for the tannins. But what we look for is the proper content, okay? The oxygenation and the proper content. In fact, as longer the barrel has been contained in sherry, even better. I said it's American oak, and commercially, when we talk about a barrel, we name that, we call that botas. Okay, this is a bota. Okay. And you can find small ones, you can see huge ones during the visit, but commercially it's 500 liters. Okay. And there is more difference. A curious difference is that we need oxygen. Something that can be very, very dangerous for most of the wines is something very important and necessary in the creation of the sherries. That's why, even though the barrels are closed, are not sealed, right? Closed but not sealed, and not full. We need oxygen inside. We need air, right? I said I was going to explain the Solera system, okay? I sum up the Solera system as an art of blending wines. An art of blending wines. If you look for in Wikipedia what Solera system is, you probably will find a row of bottles like this. It's a pyramid, right? And this, we can use this pyramid as an example. Okay. In this particular example, if we are going to bottle a wine, 2 persons will come with a jar, the Venencia, which is the tool we use to take out the wines from the barrels, and a glass, and we'll check the evolution barrel by barrel to check that is the dessert evolution. Obviously, we check normally and daily the wines, but previous the The moment we are going to bottle the wine, we do that labor again. So they will take a glass, they will check the aromas, color, and the characteristics of the wine, and if the wine is properly is okay, we'll drop in the jar, all right? At the end, you have in the jar a glass of every single bottle. If it is not common, but if you have one of the bottles that is not okay, you put a mark and you don't use that for the bottle. It's not very common.
So, the wines go in one jar?
Yeah, at the end, you have a jar with a glass of everyone. That represents a blending of the wine you are going to bottle.
Okay.
If that is okay, then you go on and you take out small parts of every single bottle. It's important to say that the small parts, because we keep the mother, we keep the essence of every bottle. We don't never empty the bottle. We take out small parts, right? We take out small parts of every of them, and then we blend, and that will be, in this example, the wine that we are going to use for the bottling. What we do is to do the same with this row of bottles,
Okay.
to blend and replace the wine that we have taken out. And do the same with this to this.
Okay.
And the new wine of the year will come
There.
to the top, right? So in average terms, you have the older,
Yeah.
a little bit younger, and the younger. Traditionally, this row has been called solera because it was placed close to the suelo. Okay, in Spanish, suelo and solera sounds very similar. And that's why some people think that come from sang or sol. No, it comes from suelo. All right? So you have in that. This is only an example, I said,
Yes.
because sometimes you take wines from other part of the building
Right.
to join this part of the solera, and not always necessary. It has to be the solera close to the floor. So we will be discovering during the visit why this is only an example.
Yes.
But we were, in the moment that we were talking about the oxygen inside the bottle, right?
Yes.
So with the nature of the mast, of the sherry mast, with this oxygen inside, the wine developed the famous floor that you probably heard. That floor is just yeast that is a protection between the oxygen and the wine. That's why, even though we are leaving the wine to evolve a minimum of 3 years, we will discover much longer maturation process. In the meanwhile, the wine is protected by the yeast. It's still pale as a white wine because it's not oxidation. All right?
Yeah.
There is oxygen, this is wine, but it's a protection that is like a seal that avoids any possible oxidation. But not only avoid any possible oxidation, but most of the flavors and aromas that the finos and manzanillas have itself, and properly they are the white wines from Jerez, okay, come from the yeast. I said that the most of the aromas are reached during the time and the evolution in the bodega. So for finos and manzanillas, for the pale styles, they come from that yeast, right? And the yeast can die for enologically, in enologically terms, for 2 reasons, okay? One of the reasons would be lack of nutrients. If we don't add fresh wine, it's starting to be a lack of nutrients. And the yeast start turning thinner, darker, and finally start appearing some holes in the surface and finally disappear, all right? But the second reason is if the degree of alcohol is not 15, that is the optimum for the yeast, but is 17 or over, the yeast equally can die, can disappear, right? What happens when the yeast disappears is that the oxidation, we call that positive oxidation. Normally oxidation in a wine is destructive. Something here in Jerez is something is a part of the evolution. So that positive evolution start acting and start changing the characteristics of the wine completely. Not only in color, that slowly is getting darker, but also in aromas and in characteristics. If you take a wine from after a long positive oxidation, and a wine always protected by the yeast. They are completely different, even though they are in the same bottle, in the same building, and it's the same grape, but different evolution inside the building. Oh, spray.